I have been waiting for this parcel for 2 weeks. I'm excited to crack it open. This package was sent to me by one of the subs of the channel. Thank you, Scott. Now, he wants me to recut a few opals for him. I think there should be 3, maybe 4 in here. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be recutting all of them. I just need to have a look to see which ones are worth cutting and see exactly what he wants for it. Enough talking, let's just crack into it, shall we? Look, he's packaged it very well. There's no denying. It looks like I've received drugs. They're not. This is not his leftover dinner. This is a parcel of opals, despite it being in a Tupperware box. So, because of my jewellery making attempt, let's call it, Scott is actually very good at making his own jewellery. So he's very kindly sent me some wet and dry paper to be able to polish better. Thank you very much, it's greatly appreciated. I look forward to using it. Now, in terms of the opals that have been sent, I don't know what this is. This might be his leftover dinner. This is a massive opal. What on? What? That's insane. That's insane. What? You need a close-up of this. He sent me a mineral specimen. That's awesome. Is it showing up how shiny this is? Look at it. It's like mini diamonds all over it, and then these massive globulates of diamond. I mean, I know it's not diamond. He's just told me it is a fluorite on matrix from Inner Mongolia. Look at it. It's got natural facets. That's one of the craziest gifts I've ever received. That is just phenomenal. I don't even know if it's safe to hold. Hey, Scott, thank you. That's pretty awesome. Hey, soft standing sticks as well, precision ones. Again, for the jewelry making. Scott, this is crazy. Right, the opal is what he wanted me to cut, and he sent me a bunch of gifts. Oh, man, let's have a look. So this is number 1. He's drawn a rough guide as to what he wants me to cut out of it. Obviously, he wants it turned into an oval, which is going to be an easy job. It is very much a cool opal. It's very bright too. If I turn off the light, you'll still be able to see the colour. That's a sign of really high quality opal, when you can turn all light off and it still shine bright. He calls it the Phoenix because it looks like a rising flame, and well, I can't disagree. It does look like a rising flame. It's pretty cool. Opal number 2 is one he's already cut himself, but he wants the domes made a little bit smoother. Upon inspection, it might be hard to give that a nice dome without losing some colour. Opal number 3 is a piece of rough opal. It has 2 colour bars. If I zoom in, so you see this little colour of red running around here. That's one of them. Very, very thin. It's not going to yield a gem. There's something like that. It's just too small to be able to cut and actually make a dome out of. The other side, however, the colour itself is on jet black potch, nice reds and blues, which is a rare colour combination. It could make a very nice gem. I need to point this out when it comes to rough opal. All rough opal is a gamble. No matter how good you are at cutting opal or how long you've been in the business for, you will never know what's hiding underneath the cap. I could take the top cap off, and those sand spots, for example that one there, could run very deep and ruin the gem. So as a piece of rough, it looks pretty, but to cut a gem out of it is a gamble, and that goes with all rough opal. You never know what's underneath. You never know how clean the opal is going to be. The 4th opal, very interesting formation, cool little zigzag of blues and greens going along the middle. The underneath is where the majority of the colour is, but it's got large pits, for example there and here, so to be able to yield a gem, in all honesty, from my experience, there might only be a gem sitting there and the rest just has to go. Depending on what you like, it might be better kept as a specimen rather than cutting it into a gem, but again, it's going to be his decision. I'll let him know what I think, and then he can let me know what he wants done with it. Bit of an extravagant start to the video, and we're now going to cut the opals for him. It is about, let me check, it's 4 degrees outside. Let's get this coffee down me, let's wrap up warm, stick on the old lucky hat, and go and cut this opal for him so it's ready to be set into a ring or a pendant. I don't know what I'd prefer, but hey, that's his choice. Anyway, let's get to cutting. As you can see, I'm going to do the initial shaping freehand. I do this with most of my opals before I put it onto a dop stick. I find it much easier and I prefer it a lot more to have a rough shape first and then I perfect it whilst it's on the dop stick. It just makes my life a lot easier. As you can see, I'm being incredibly gentle with the opal on the wheel for multiple reasons. First of all, it's not my opal, so I'm going to be as gentle as possible because I want to keep it as large as possible in terms of keeping the colour there, whilst also not risking having large chips come off. One problem I found myself coming across is the fact that the image, the picture stone, the colour, whatever you want to call it, but the colour on the opal is slightly at an angle, and the oval, I'm predicting that the oval is going to be slightly not symmetrical, and that's a problem because I prefer opals to be symmetrical. As I've mentioned in many videos in the past, when it's symmetrical it sells better, but more importantly it looks a lot better. This gives me a chance to talk about picture stones in general. Everyone can look at an opal and see something different. Scott in this example sees a rising flame or even a phoenix with obviously the 2 wings and the neck and the head, but someone else might see something entirely different. And that's the beauty of opal, it's in the eye of the beholder. Whatever you think you see is your truth and is the truth, and no one can convince you otherwise, and that's what I really enjoy. Okay, the pre-shaping's now done. I can still see already that this top left side needs to come in a bit more, but it's of utmost importance to me to keep this trifecta here. You see it's got the bottom, you've got wing 1, wing 2 and the neck and the head. So we're calling it the phoenix because that's what Scott calls it, and I totally agree with him. It's of utmost importance to me to keep this colour and this phoenix the star of the show. So I've cut off a lot of excess material from the left hand side. Because the opal came in quite close to where the colour is on the right, it's a struggle to make this edge here symmetrical with this one, and with that and with the original shape of the stone it wasn't possible to make a perfect oval. So it's going to be, it will look almost oval, but it'll be more of an egg shape with it being wider and then coming in thinner at the top. As I say, it's important to make sure that this colour is the star of the show and have no excess around it, because as a ring you want that to be striking you, not having excess material left or right just for the sake of having a perfect oval. Now when it comes to setting this stone, it will be, as you can see there, the dome isn't perfect with the bottom. I could, in theory, make that perfect, but then the stone becomes very thin and I don't want to risk structural integrity of the stone. It's time now to dop the opal. I'm using quite a large dopping stick because it's quite a large opal. Now the opal is on the dop stick, it's a lot easier to get a final shape that's perfect. So I'm just ironing out the creases on the 120 grit wheel and moving over to this black wheel here, which is a 400 grit, which allows me to still perfect the shape, but obviously take off material a lot slower. so I can really start to dial it in. As I mentioned before, it's going to look like an oval, but it's probably going to be more like an egg shape. So apologies to Scott that it can't be a perfect oval, but I'm trying to save all that colour and save the picture in the stone. I'm now, as you can see, rolling the setting edge, which is basically like putting a small camber on it. So whenever you're folding claws or a bezel over the opal, that obviously it has something to grip or grab onto. So now we're moving over to the 600 grit wheel. Just to point something out that some of you might be thinking is that it looks from this angle like the shape is uneven. I can assure you it's not. What you're looking at there is the way the light is bouncing off the dome. So as I might have mentioned earlier in the video, the setting edge or the cabochon on this opal is uneven. So when it comes to setting the opal, I'm no expert, but no doubt the bezel will have to be altered all the way around the edge of the opal so it still fits nice and snug. I can't change that, unfortunately, without losing some colour, which I'm not willing to do. I'd rather it be slightly harder to set into a piece of jewellery than to lose the colour that Scott wants me to keep. Another thing to point out as well, some of you might be thinking, why are you repolishing the face? I thought it was already polished. You're right, it did already have a polish on it, but there were still scratches in the face. Now, as a perfectionist, I'm going to be taking these out to give it a mirror polish, or as close to as I can. Now, I can do that without losing too much colour. That's not a worry for me at all. Yes, there might be some deep scratches still in the face, but unfortunately, that will just have to be the case, but at least I can clean up the majority of the face of the opal whilst I'm doing it here. I'm sure it goes without saying as well, I'm of course doing the 600 grit wheel, then the 1200, and then the 3000 grit wheel before I final polish. Now it's time to put the cerium oxide blend, obviously using a felt wheel until it's got a mirror polish. The final polish is done, so as I mentioned before, there was some scratches in the face that needed to come out to give it a true mirror polish. Now it does have a mirrored polish. It's hard to see it here because it's so dark and I just have the down lighting on it right now. There are a few spots to point out. Now I'll use these little tweezers here. So if I get the light in the right area, in the bottom left here, there are still a little bit of scratches left, and just at the top here. That one was the inclusion. That's come out more, it's now less visible than it was, but it's still there. But the reason I've left little tiny spots of scratches, which to the naked eye are invisible, but with the right lighting can be seen. The reason they're still there is because the scratches are so deep that if I was to go and chase them and take them out, then I would be losing colour, and that's not for me to do. I think the opal stands out for itself regardless of tiny hairline scratches that are in there. So the opal speaks for itself. It's bright red, which is gorgeous. It does still have its neck and its two wings on either side, so it still is a phoenix. It is more of an egg shape than an oval, but regardless, sometimes I put them in between my fingers just to see if the shape is even. The shape is even. It would make a massive ring or a very modest pendant. So it's up to Scott what he wants to do with it, but I hope I've done it justice for him. The Phoenix opal has been cut. Scott asked me to give a valuation on this Phoenix opal. He wanted me to give a valuation of what I thought it was worth before I've cut it, now after I've cut it. I'll start it off by saying Opal is only worth what someone's willing to pay. Now, of course, market prices can dictate what someone might sell it for. However, the reason I've said it's only worth what someone will pay is, for example, my name's Will. If I found an opal that had a red flash of the letter W on it, I'm going to be willing to pay more than someone who's called Chris or Bartholomew. Pick any other letter of the alphabet. I'm more likely to outbid that person for that opal because the letter is more sentimental to me. Before I've cut it, when Scott sent it to me, the shape was irregular, there were still scratches in the face, and obviously there were a couple inclusions in the face too. As a pre-valuation, I'd say at that point the opal was probably worth around, bearing in mind I'm a wholesaler, worth around the sort of £40, £50 mark to the right person. Someone might see that and go, no, I could probably find another opal that I prefer more at that price. Around that area. Now I've cut it, it has a regular shape. It's not a perfect oval, but it's damn near. It's more of an egg shape, but it's not freeform anymore. It has a mirror polish to it. Yes, there are inclusions in the face still. Yes, there are a couple scratches still in the face that I wasn't willing to get out in the risk of losing colour. The dome is now more even. It's not perfect. It still has ups and downs to it, which will make it harder to set into jewellery, which also impacts the price. But on the whole, I'd say now I've cut it, the value is closer to sort of 50, I'd say I could argue even 60. And the reason I'm saying 60 is because, well, first of all, if I block the light out, I can still see the greens and the reds, which means it's a very, the brightness of the colour is up there at the top, the higher end. It's red, rarer colour. The pattern, very unique. It's even a picture stone, and it has Scott thinks is a phoenix. Someone else might think it's a swan that's caught fire, which you could argue is a phoenix as long as it comes back to life. Things like that. There's a lot of different things that go into the aspect of pricing opal. I'd say about £50–60 mark for the fact that it's very unique. You could argue, well, Will, you're a wholesaler. What if it's to someone who's on the street? Yeah, I could say this is £100, and someone might come along and say, yeah, I'd pay £100 for that. I love a phoenix. My great uncle, half removed, used to own a phoenix, and I miss him dearly, and I love phoenixes, so I'm gonna pay £100 for that because I'd love to wear that as a pendant or as a ring. So it reminds me of him. I don't know why I used that as an example, but you get my point in the sense, if it really resonates with someone, they're more likely to part with more cash for it. As a market value, £60 I think is a fair mark. Higher or lower, it's up for debate. Everyone sells their opals at different prices. It's usually in the ballpark. So hopefully that gives you a better idea. The main points are bright red, it changes to green, it even has gold in it. It's a large opal, it has significant size. It's got a mirror polish to it, and it's a nice shape. Hopefully that explanation gives you a rough idea as to why I've priced it at that. Sometimes I struggle to put what's in here in my head into words. So if what I've said didn't make any sense and I've confused you, let me know, and hopefully I can clear up any confusion in the comments below. What I will do now is go and even out the back and show you the final result at the end of the video. Hopefully I've done it justice for Scott, who wanted it recut. I hope he enjoys what I've done with it. My main goal was to make the phoenix the star of the show. Your eyes are drawn into that pattern, and that's what I was hoping to do, and that's what I think I've done. So thanks very much for watching today's video. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. Like the video so it's recommended to more people. The whole algorithm thing is hit or miss. The more likes, the better it is for me, so I appreciate it. And I will see you in a week's time. I'm about to show you the finished piece in a second, so don't tune out just yet.